My passion is that everybody in the world knows that you have an endocannabinoid system. And we have a digestive system, we have a respiratory system, and this beautiful system is not being taught.
Why don't you think that it's been taught?
Cannabis is in Schedule 1, right? And it's been there since 1970. What that means is that there's no medical use for it in the United States of America, that there's no research for it in the United States of America, and a potential for abuse. So let's just back up a little bit. Most people don't know that cannabis is food, fuel, fiber, paper, and medicine. And we replaced it with synthetic.
Wow.
And guess what? They have names. The Hearst family, the DuPonts, Rockefeller, Carnegie, and Mellon. Right? So you ask why, right? And we had a badass name by the name of Harry Anslinger, who propagated this, who said things like reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men.
Wow.
Murder, insanity, death.
Reefer madness.
And we know that this was prescribed by doctors, and in the United States of Pharmacopoeia from 1850 to 1942.
Wow.
And the indications of it was for insanity, alcoholism, opioid addiction. Okay. So I explained the endocannabinoid system in one word: life. That's a pretty big word. The other words I use is homeostasis, balance. I love Dr. DiMaggio's words. He says that the endocannabinoid system is meant for us to relax, eat, sleep, forget, or protect. And these are balancing. So if your muscle is too tight or flaccid, if you eat too much or not enough, if you sleep too much or not enough, if you forget too much or not enough, Alzheimer's, dementia. I always say PTS is not forgetting enough. Jokingly, I always say, if somebody remembered childbirth, you ain't getting laid again, right? So protection, overprotection, or underprotection. But the endocannabinoid system, what we've learned is that we've got receptors in our body. Cannabinoid receptor 1 was found primarily in the brain. Cannabinoid receptor 2, which is primarily the immune system. What these receptors are throughout our body, and this is what we're finding out. We've got endocannabinoids. The first endocannabinoid that was identified was called anandamide by Dr. Raphael Mechoulam in Israel. And what that means is eternal bliss. So when we talk about a nervous system, we talk about pre to postsynaptic, dopamine and serotonin. These are made in the pre, they're released, and they bind to the post. Endocannabinoids are retrograde. What that means is it's made from the post, it's released, and it binds to the pre. So it's retrograde. And what it also means is that it's a constant balancing system.
I love you, Dr. Omar.
And what we've learned is that because of these illnesses, we have a deficiency. And Dr. Ethan Russo has said this so beautifully. When we have a dysfunction of this system, migraines, IBS, fibromyalgia are all related to if a deficiency, overactivity, obesity, and even addictions.
Wow. How do you know what? This makes so much more sense, right, than what people, I mean, I don't understand how our government can still say it's federally illegal then,
It's a deficiency we're fulfilling. It's a food.
Right.
And nobody in the world has ever died from this plant.
It's big business, and it's
politics
sad.
and big business.
But I think the rest of the world's catching on, and this is why, the curve.
Well, they can't ignore it any longer. They're still trying to.
Criminal.
They're
Blatantly criminal.
They're still trying to ignore it as long as they can until they can't. And that's what I think the politicians are doing there. And even in California, all the different cities, 88 cities in California, hardly any of them have given licenses out. And it's going to be a you-know-what show in January when no one's going to have any product because licensed stores aren't going to risk losing their licenses by buying black market.
Well, here's another scenario, is that the Emerald Triangle just burnt down.
It's rough.
So, shout out to those guys out there.
And what's even rougher is them shutting down those funding pages.
Oh, I'm not right. They're trying to get funding because
So they have to reword the funding project to what it looked like. If they reworded it for this is for the families, not this is to replace crops.
Right. Yeah. Well, I get that too.
But that's still wrong.
It is wrong. Why do we have to reword things?
Well, this is you help me. In every state, we tell people get involved, vote.
Yes.
If you consume cannabis in any form, there's got to be enough people who consume cannabis that might not tell you that. They're in the closet. But
Sure.
if they all got got registered and voted, we would have what we want.
You know,
God.
I just want to back up and talk a little bit about standards and safety a little bit, because heavy metals, that's one of my specialties, has been lead and beryllium, and we've learned a lot about if we don't check for these things, we could be doing harm. And as a physician, you know, I took an oath that says do no harm, but I want to add safety first.
So where do you
Yeah.
find lead in the oils?
It could be
Or
coming
in
from
the
different
plant?
Well, it's in the air.
soil?
It could be
The
from the
soil?
water. It could be from the soil. It could be from the chemicals that the people are putting on the
Pesticides.
plants.
The pesticides.
Lead is a big component.
Or even the processes people are doing. And now we got concentrating that they're doing. So if you don't check these things, we could be doing more harm. And I have a lot of concerns about these vaporization that we're doing, because number one, years ago we learned about popcorn lung. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this. Microwave workers, people that worked with popcorn that used to spray it, they developed what was called popcorn lung, which meant that those little droplets were seen. So we don't know what the long-term studies will be